evening. Welcome to the annual reception of ACEA. My name is Sigrid de Vries. I am Director General of ACEA, and it's my real pleasure to welcome you to this evening tonight. And phew, what a moment to be working for the automotive industry, right? And I mean that in a good sense. Our industry is really often front page news these days, and especially also here in Brussels. And when we planned this reception, we could not have imagined it would take place right between the second strategic dialogue on the future of the automotive industry under the leadership of Ursula von der Leyen and the publication tomorrow of the Automotive Action Plan. So what a timing indeed, and great to have the opportunity to talk to you about these important developments, also tonight in an informal setting. But there is more happening in the world that we could not have imagined only recently. And that's why it's only right to assess the global paradigm shifts and what that means for Europe and for the automotive industry, how to ensure a reality check, support our resilience and competitiveness, and find a better way to green, not away from green. And this stunning setting, you must agree with me, it's stunning tonight. The Library of Europe is the home of influential publications that altered the course of history. And what a time to have you all with us here as history is being shaped again. And let's face it, we are all part of history in making. So I'd like to welcome especially the members of Parliament here today, the officials from the European Commission, the attachés, and the many stakeholders from across the automotive and mobility ecosystem. And I extend an invitation because we have 10 automotive CEOs and members of the ACEA boards with us this evening. So please approach them and get to know them. And I will now call them out and ask them to raise their hands in alphabetical order of the company name so you know where to go. BMW, Oliver Zipse, where are you? Great. John Lawler of Ford, I think he's already left, but he was here, great. Okuda-san from Honda, welcome. Xavier Martinet, Hyundai. Good. Alexander Vlaskamp, MAN. Good. Ola Kalianius, who I will ask in a minute to also come to stage. Guillaume Cartier, Nissan. Christian Levin, Scania, who will also join me on stage in a minute. Jean-Philippe Imparato from Stellantis. And Gunnar Kilian from Volkswagen. So really a great set of people to have with us today. Make use of it. Now, before I hand over to our new president, the CEO of Mercedes-Benz, I am now going to welcome one other CEO to the stage for just a brief minute. So he is the chairperson of ACEA's all-important commercial vehicle board and CEO of Traton and Scania, Christian Levin. Welcome.
Thanks, Sigrid.
Yeah. So we agreed up front. I would ask you 2 questions, right?
Shoot.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have no clue what she's going to ask.
And those who know us a little bit might guess what it will be. But as we always say, trucks are not big cars. And
correct.
That may seem obvious by the look of them, but why should everybody really leave the evening here today with that understanding? Why does it matter?
I think it's quite simple, and I do not pretend to know anything about cars, and I think there are many reasons why you buy a car, me included. One thing you should remember is that there is only one reason, ladies and gentlemen, why you buy a commercial vehicle, and that is to make money. It's a simple return on investment calculation, and that's why we keep talking about TCO, total cost of ownership. And of course, there is also an income side, which you can talk about, total operating income. But that's why it's so important that we get the total cost of ownership for a battery electric vehicle down below what it costs to run on diesel fuel. That's our challenge, none other.
So trucks need a different set of regulations. They have different challenges from cars, and they need to be addressed in their own
Absolutely.
dedicated way. So what is the number one thing the Automotive Action Plan should deliver for the commercial vehicle industry?
Yeah, so the number one thing is to get an early revision of the CO2 legislation. So it's already in for 2027. We are 2024 on 2% take rate in Europe. We need to reduce CO2 45% to 2030. That's in 5 years. That means probably market share of battery electric vehicles around 35 to 40%. So we're going from 2 to 35 in less than 5 years. That's going to be very, very hard, if not saying impossible. So therefore, we need an early revision so that we can, together with all the policymakers here in Europe, discuss how can we make the enabling conditions get in place. TCO, I mentioned, but it is about charging infrastructure, it is about the grid, it is about anything that makes the customer unsecure today about whether to invest or not to get the good return on investment. That's what we need. Early revision, 2025.
And I squeeze in a third question, because I know
Oops,
you've
no,
not
I'm
been
not
talking
prepared.
to policymakers only today. You've been trying to sell trucks to
Yeah,
a very
well,
Belgian
no, but-
family-run company.
Yeah, and actually, it starts with the transport buyer, right? So I meet with this great company who produces the cookies where it says Lotus. You go to take a coffee and you get a small cookie, right? Lotus. Wonderful, very good, by the way. They have sustainability targets, and they realize transport, as they distribute all over the world, is a big part of their CO2 footprint. So they demand to their transport supplier, which we visited today, say, can you decarbonize? Therefore, they have ordered 2 battery electric heavy commercial vehicles, stating that with this experiment, they are prepared to pay a little bit more just to try out the technology. But if they should run the whole fleet on battery electric, they, of course, need to see a lower or at least equal total cost of ownership. And with a truck costing 3 times of the diesel truck and the delta between electricity and diesel being not very impressive, that will not happen. That's what TCO is about.
Great. Thanks for sharing that with us today.
Thanks,
Christian.
Ingrid.
Yeah.
See you around.
Now, over to our speaker of the evening. And like Christian, he's also Swedish-born. He's an automotive native, a true global citizen. He's a huge fan of American football and basketball, and is the CEO of the world's oldest car manufacturer. Ola Källenius, ACEA President and CEO of Mercedes-Benz. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Sigrid. Thank you, Christian. And good evening, everybody. And again, welcome to this ACEA evening. It's great that so many people could join us tonight. And I was thinking about my speech tonight. Of course, I have staff that always writes a perfect speech, and I could have given that, but I decided to put it to the side, and no offense to the people that have done the work here, and just reflect a little bit on what's going on in the auto industry, and especially what we're experiencing these days, and looking forward into the future. So let's just think about what is the product that we actually sell. The product that we sell is personal freedom. Personal freedom for every single European to be able to go anywhere they like, any time of the day, without any restriction. And at the same time, and of course I agree with you, you buy a truck not because you want it, because you need it. The commercial vehicle side of our business is the backbone of the economy. If you look at the correlation between economic growth and the growth of commercial vehicle transport, you see that they are very closely correlated. So everything we know, the whole lifestyle that we have built up over the last 100 plus years is based upon that mobility system that is our industry and our product. The auto industry very clearly wants to be a force for good. We have, over the last decades, found out that one of the side effects of this personal freedom is CO2. And we're in the middle of a transformation, kind of once in 100-year transformation, to engineer the CO2, the side effect, out of our product. I don't think there is any industrial player in the world that is more committed to this task than the auto industry. In Europe alone, we have spent the better part of 250 billion euro so far to decarbonize our business model. And in spite of the fact that the market conditions may not have been what we had all hoped for 5 years ago, this is not an industry that is hesitating. That is an industry that is upping the ante. We're more than doubling that bet going into the future. So we are believers. We are the ones, we are the industry in Europe, the private industry in Europe that spends the most money on innovation and R&D. And we continue to invest into this product and have the belief that this global European auto industry can be the leading player going into the future. If we look at the discussion, what's going on, and we have spent the last 4 weeks having a dialogue with the Commission, initiated by President Ursula von der Leyen. She said, the auto industry is so strategically important that I'm going to make this more or less the president task to lead the discussion with this industry and talk about where are we, what do we need to do, and where do we go into the future. So in a kickoff meeting that we had end of January, in the last 4 weeks, and a meeting that we had yesterday, I think we're taking some first positive steps. What was positive was that all stakeholders, we did an inventory of what we stand. What has worked, what hasn't worked, where do we need to change, and where are we going? What was also positive is that in the action plan that I think will formally be presented tomorrow, but we got a preview of yesterday, there are some first actions, pragmatic actions, to take into account the market conditions that we have and lay the groundwork for an even more successful transformation, because the transformation is only just started. This last 5-6 years or more, it feels like it's only been the first chapter. The next few chapters are going to be even more important. And that would be my second message for tonight, and for people that are members of parliament and different opinion leaders and others that influence this process. Let's look at these next 10 years and make it really successful, so we put Europe at the top in terms of how we develop this industry. And I used an analogy in the meeting yesterday about juggling balls. What are the balls that we're juggling? One is decarbonization. Not a single player in the auto industry questions the fact that we're on a road to zero emission. It's only about how do we get there, and how do we get there in a successful way. So one of the balls is decarbonization. It's a strategic imperative. It's a strategic imperative for Europe, for society, but also for the auto industry. The second piece is an innovative, healthy auto industry that provides good jobs. I think it's 13 million jobs, give or take, that are dependent on the auto industry. One of the biggest employers, obviously, certainly the biggest industrial employer in Europe. And it needs to go hand in hand. I had the privilege before Christmas to meet with Mario Draghi. I had read his report. I had read the Letta report before that report. And I was listening to him as he was describing, in his words, the findings. And I think a red thread through that report is you need to create harmony between the industrial strategy and the Green Deal. And I think that is something we have to do for the auto industry as well. So that second ball is a innovative, healthy auto industry that can continue to thrive and secure good jobs. And the third one is mobility security. It almost sounds strange. It's like a given. You take it for granted. But everybody watches the news. The world we live in, unfortunately, has become a more complicated place. Dependencies can end up being dependencies that you don't like, supply chains, etc. We also have to protect the mobility security and the supply chains. That is one of the pillars of this successful auto industry. And those three balls need to be juggled at the same time. If you choose to hold on to one ball too firmly, by definition, minimum one other ball is going to fall down. And as an auto industry, we don't think that's a good idea. We think we need to keep all three balls in the air, and we believe that it's also possible. And last but not least, at the center of that triangle is a stakeholder that we speak not enough about, the customer. If anybody believes that you can affect a market in any meaningful or positive way without taking into account what the customer wants, is gravely mistaken. I know that there is sometimes the muscle memory that you dictate and penalize, and you tell the customer what to do. And in some cases, those tools are necessary. But the tools where you use the market forces, nudging and incentivization, usually proves to be the stronger tools and actually the more successful way. So in the dialogue that is to come after the meeting that we had yesterday with President von der Leyen, we will spend the next 3 months of discussing how do you create this successful path to green and make sure that we protect the other benefits of the industry at the same time. It's our understanding that we will get back together again with the President in June. So we have some time. I know the clock is ticking and many things are happening on the side. But we should use this time wisely and really, really think through this equation. And no matter what side you are on, what stakeholder you are in this game, try to wear all 3 hats, not just one hat, all 3 hats, and think through what the optimum is so that we can celebrate maybe in this room 10 years from now and look back at most of the transformation being behind us and not ahead of us. Again, we greatly appreciate that you have come here tonight to be in this dialogue with us. Look upon us as thought partners. Sigrid and her team are, of course, here and available around the clock, more or less, to speak with you. And with that, I hear we have a little surprise before I hand over to you, Sigrid. So again, thank you, and let's look what the team has prepared here. Thanks.